If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our new updates.
Long before the likes of Thomas Sankara, Robert Mugabe, and Nelson Mandela would burst onto the international scene as the faces of anti-imperialism in Africa, one man stood head and shoulders above his peers as the leading political voice and was at the forefront in the fight against colonialism. His name was Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah took the world by storm as he led his nation to become the first African nation to gain independence from the European powers. His influence triggered a wave of independence movements across sub-Saharan Africa. However, he gradually descended to authoritarianism. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah went from being Ghana's messiah and a righteous leader to a political outcast whose death would lead to wild celebrations on the streets by the very same people that once loved and adored him. This is the story of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the first Prime Minister and President of Ghana. On the 9th of February 1951, Sir Charles Arden Clarke was faced with one of the most difficult decisions of his career. A decision was to be made about a 41-year-old prisoner who had been held at James Fort in Accra on a 3-year sentence for subversionary activities in the eyes of the colonial authorities. This prisoner was a dangerous troublemaker who, even while in chains, was a very serious threat to the stability of the colony. This man was Kwame Nkrumah. And before his arrest, the British officials had drawn up a carefully constructed plan for the colony's slow and steady transition into full independence. This plan involved the collaboration of the British Council with an elite group of Gold Coast lawyers, businessmen and academics who had long been calling for the reforms. This group of elite formed the nation's first political party, United Gold Coast Convention. These guys needed someone to help push their message to the masses and build popular support for their independence. It was at this point that an unknown activist named Kwame Nkrumah was recommended to them. At this time, Nkrumah was out of the country pursuing his education in USA and England. He earned degrees in economics, sociology, and philosophy in USA. When he got to London to pursue his law degree, he got carried away by his love for activism. Although activism couldn't really put food on his table, so when he was offered the job at the United Gold Coast Convention, he took the job quickly and moved back to the Gold Coast. He became a member of the Big Six. Within less than 2 years, Nkrumah had fallen out of favor with the other members of the Big Six. He wasn't okay with the slow transition to independence. He began calling for independence immediately. So he left the UGCC to form his own party known as the Convention People Party. He focused on stirring up the emotions of the masses with revolutionary songs, catchy slogans, and provocative posters. The CPP also set up media outlets which would work day and night to raise anti-colonial sentiments in the public by vilifying the colonial authorities and labeling the UGCC as colonial collaborators, and he gained massive following. Many of his supporters saw him as a literal messiah sent from heaven to free them from the shackles of colonial oppression. His growing popularity caused a lot of civil unrest, and the governor of the Gold Coast declared a state of emergency and ordered for the arrest of Nkrumah and his associates. Nkrumah was subsequently convicted and sentenced to 3 consecutive prison terms of 1 year each. But this didn't even come close to stopping him, as his status as a true revolutionary had now been confirmed by the suffering he was enduring for his beliefs. While in prison cell, Nkrumah discovered that a legal loophole that allowed any prisoner sentenced to a term for imprisonment not exceeding 1 year could contest for elections, as his 3-year sentence was actually composed of 3 separate terms of 1 each year. Now, Dr. Nkrumah announced that he would be running for office from his prison cell. As expected, Nkrumah won the elections in a landslide, leaving the colonial governor on the morning of 9th February 1951 in a serious dilemma. After weighing the pros and cons of this dilemma, the governor realized that without Nkrumah's release, there would be an uprising which the colonial authorities couldn't afford to deal with. So after 14 months in prison, Kwame Nkrumah was released on the 12th of February 1951. The fact that the British were letting go of Ghana drew the attention of anti-colonial activists from all around the world as the first major sign of the end of colonialism in Africa. Nkrumah got to work immediately and pushed for self-government without delay. His demands were met and they created a new constitution providing for full internal self-government under the control of an all-African cabinet. With this victory, Nkrumah had engraved his name into the history books and ascended to a demigod status as the masses began to compare him to the biblical Moses who had been set to lead his people towards the promised land of independence. After a few years of negotiation, Nkrumah officially won independence from Great Britain, and thus the nation of Ghana was born on the 6th of March 1957, the most globally acclaimed African event of its time, as delegates from 56 countries arrived on African soil. Ghana became one of the richest tropical countries in the world, with an efficient civil service, an impartial judiciary, and a growing middle class. Its parliament was filled with arguably the most competent politicians in Africa. Ghana had huge foreign currency reserves which the president had built during the 1950s cocoa boom, and also had large reserves of gold, timber, and bauxite. Nkrumah's vision, however, was much larger than the liberation of his beloved Ghana. His life's mission was to oversee the creation of a borderless African superstate in which all the French, British, Spanish, and Portuguese colonies would break free from colonial control and unite under a single Pan-African government. Despite the vast religious, cultural, and ethnic differences of the various nations of Africa, Nkrumah did not see his Pan-African goals as some distant objective to be achieved gradually over the course of several generations. Instead, he was fully convinced that with the right level of political will and dedication, his grand vision could be achieved within his own lifetime.
Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed the video. See you in the next video.